That is Drake 12 with a one-time Big 12 member, right? Arkansas? Wow. Yeah.
You just said Drake 12, and I think I love it.
I think I like it too. Here's what the Big 12 shouldn't like, though, Drake Toll. I said, and took some very hurtful flack last year, I will point out, by the way, for declaring the Big 12 was going to be a one-bid conference in the college football playoff. I don't see that changing in 2025. Am I wrong?
It certainly could, and there is a very clear avenue to get there. That avenue is, hey, BYU, don't lose to Kansas. In the event that BYU had not lost to Kansas, we're talking about a much different outcome for the Big 12 later in the season, and that is Arizona State still beating BYU. They sit where SMU sat. SMU was 11-2, lost to Clemson, still made it to the college football playoff. If BYU wins that game against Kansas, we might be talking about a BYU team who goes to the Big 12 championship, loses to Arizona State. Their only two losses. Arizona State, who we know now was good, and they get to make it automatically because they won their conference. And then BYU sits at 11-2, and they're right there. And again, the same spot as SMU, except they beat SMU at SMU, and college football game outcomes still kind of matter.
What do you want to bet the committee would try to talk their way around that?
Well, let's think about this. Do we agree or disagree the committee is subjective?
Oh, that's 100% agreement.
For sure, right? So if we're talking money, branding, things that would be good for the sport, BYU certainly carries way more weight than SMU. And sure, they're the flagship university of one of the world's fastest growing faiths. So of course, they're right there. And they bring in a ton of viewership, the second most in the Big 12, right behind Colorado. So with that under consideration, there's a way. I mean, everyone would point and say, well, BYU kind of did beat SMU head to head. And from there, they would have a case. And in the same vein, too, if SMU had beaten Clemson, ACC's, they're a one-bid league. I think the Big 12 and the ACC are still in bed here with each other when it comes to that case of you might be a one-bid league year in and year out. For the Big 12 next year, what it's going to take is 11-1 versus 11-1 in the conference championship game, or 11-1 versus 10-2, 12-0 versus 10-2, and the better record of those two loses. At that point, you get into the college football playoff. You're probably still a 12 seed, or you're a 7 seed, and we'll have to talk about seeding because Brett Yormark said no when the college football playoff committee said, let's just seed everybody reasonably and not give buys to the conference champions. In the case that the Big 12 has two schools that don't eat each other alive, this conference is a two-bid league. It's just a matter of playing the wins and losses game.
I do want to clarify that there is a heavy level of facetious sarcasm in the remark that I made regarding the committee. They would never make such a colossal blunder as to ignore a road victory, right? They wouldn't do that. I hope not. I wouldn't think so. I don't think so. I mean, they put in SMU over Bama, so I mean they've got something squared away in that particular room. But I am glad that results on the field can and do matter, because I'm a big regular season guy. Yes, Drake, we'll get to you here in just a moment. But I come back to the point that I originally made to start this segment, which is, how are you getting 2 11-1 teams in the Big 12? No, I have not admittedly crunched the numbers on every single schedule to see, is it even possible? But I know that it is. It happens in conferences. It has happened before. It is technically possible. Or an 11-1 losing to a 10-2 or a 9-3 that makes the conference championship game. That's another way for the Big 12 to get 2 teams in. But the only way to guarantee that you get there is you have 2 11-1s. And I mean, right now, Drake, who are the 2 teams going 11-1 in the Big 12 next year?
Now, let me say this. Very happy that Colorado, very happy this last season, Colorado, BYU, and Arizona State were all kind of on a path. Iowa State was there before Arizona State, on a path of each going in that 10-2, 11-1 category and making it tough on the committee. Had it been BYU, 12-0, Iowa State, 11-1, Colorado, 10-2, then you're going, oh, shoot, they're all kind of around there. What do we do here? Because Colorado was such a big moneymaker. They beat out the second most watched Big 12 team by 15 million views last season. I mean, they tripled.
And that wasn't even the same level of viewership as they had in 2023.
Right. And they were slamming everybody. Deion Sanders, not Colorado. Deion Sanders was tripling everybody up in viewership. So on that note, the Big 12 was almost there, and almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So I'm not going to make the case the Big 12 should have gotten more respect because of that. Though, if we hit that perfect scenario next season, it would be because a Baylor, who brings a lot back, number 19 preseason per The Athletic, or an Iowa State, or a Kansas. Kansas State doesn't play BYU next season. Iowa State, Kansas State open the year in a non-conference game in Dublin, Ireland. So there are a couple of weird deals in the Big 12 next season that could spit out 11-1, 11-1. Oh, wait. And 11-1. You could have 3 11-1 teams. You could have 2 12-0 teams and
but
one.
Do you really think that
team.
Those teams are all able to go 11-1? I know mathematically it is technically possible, but do you have 2 or 3 teams that can manage 11-win regular seasons? Because I loved the Big 12 title race this year. I thought it would be the most fun in the country coming into the season. I think the SEC gave it a real run for its money, but the chaos in the Big 12 lived up to my preseason hype week in and week out in that regard. I don't expect it to be any different, but that again means, Drake, that the number 1 team, by week 10, 11, 12 can lose to the number 7 or 8 team in the conference standings at any given time, because I don't see a massive differentiation here, and that's okay. I think it's what makes the Big 12 great. Yeah. I just think the downside is you're in the same predicament that you were last year, which is the fight to get a second team in the playoffs. Should BYU have gotten more consideration to be an at-large team? Yes, absolutely. Do I think they should have gotten into the college football playoff? No, I do not. I just don't think they got discussed to the level that they were actually deserving of when you consider they do have a road win over the ACC runners-up in Dallas. I just think that the Big 12 has not moved the needle enough in the hearts and minds of the college football decision makers to where they would look at this conference and give 10-2 an automatic berth like you would in the SEC or Big 10. I don't think that they are there.
Yeah, so let's back up a bit, because I do want to make the case that the Mountain West, if they had 12-0 Boise State and 11-1 UNLV, would have probably gotten 2. We would have considered UNLV.
No, they wouldn't put 2 Mountain West teams in.
Guess
Not
what?
Like that.
UNLV 11-1 beats Boise State in the Mountain West Championship. 12-1, 12-1. Uh-oh, Spencer. So in the same way, the Big 12.
I know that UNLV's resume had a couple of Power 4 wins, including against Kansas and almost against Syracuse. I don't think year 1 of the playoff, the committee would have had the stones.
They won their conference.
I think they reached their limit. I think they reached their limit when they put Alabama outside the playoff. I don't think they would have put in a second Mountain West team.
And Alabama lost to Oklahoma late in the season. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt in the middle of the season. Ole Miss lost to Florida. And even Tennessee lost to Arkansas. So we make the case of the Big 12's number 1 can't lose to its number 8. Well, then why can the SEC's number 3 lose to their number 14? Oh, because they're the SEC. All right, how long does that last? I get it. College Football Playoff Committee wants that to be the narrative. It will continue to be the narrative. And Spencer, it's why your case is right. The Big 12 probably only gets 1 in next year. And it's the reason Brett Yormark is saying no to a new format, is because the one team that gets in for the Big 12, they're going to be seeded 10, 11, 12. They're not going to get a bye pretty much no matter what, because it's going to be reserved for SEC or Big 10 teams. That's the way that we're traveling. Brett Yormark's trying to veto that right now. And does the Big 12 deserve more respect? Could BYU have made some noise in the college ball playoff? I really do believe they would have had a shot to do so. If they beat Kansas, maybe they do get in and can actually prove that. They lost to Kansas, so see ya, you're sitting at home. With that, for me, though, the Big 12 conference...
Just to be clear, sitting. He said you're sitting at home.
Nice. There was a bit of a...
There was a little slur. It wasn't enough to where I think it warrants an edit. If not, I will get a phone call from my boss in the morning.
Don't explain it to Allie Bronson. Good to see you. This is the case of the Big 12 where you're not getting the rightful respect you deserve from Brett Yormark's standpoint, and next season that's probably the reason you only get 1 in.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Do you think they could fix that?
If they said, if they added... Miami, Notre Dame.
All right, Drake Toll, Locked On Big 12. Everybody, he is on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast.
Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. I find the best tickets to the biggest events very easy and for cheap with Game Time. Attending NFL playoff games as well is an experience like no other. I remember my very first NFL football game Monday night, the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles. I will never forget it. And you can have that experience, but in the playoffs for yourself and your loved ones. This year, Game Time makes it easier to create those unforgettable moments with Game Time picks. Filters out the fluff, shows you the best deals, great seats so you can focus on what matters, being there. I use Game Time picks to grab tickets for NFL games, and you can do the same this playoff season. Found a super deal that gives me incredible value for amazing seats, and you can view the spot before you buy those tickets. And knowing my tickets are backed by Game Time guarantee gave me complete peace of mind. It's the reason I buy all my concerts, comedy, and NFL playoff tickets from Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, and that is guaranteed.